Greetings, all you hellbirds out there, and welcome to The Inner Four Lights, a watch of Star Trek Picard Season 3. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Bonjour. I'm practicing
Very
my
good.
French.
Oh, yeah. Data is soon to visit France, which may cause us to delay an episode, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Also appropriate for Star Trek Picard.
Right.
Today, though, we're going to recap, discuss, and evaluate, I don't want to really say rate, Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 1, Part 1, The Next Generation. Alternate title, I mean, I got nothing. I got The Fall of the Red Lady.
Just Next Generation is such a weird and title that it's hard to come up with something better.
Yeah. Also, why is it Part 1? It seems like they're pretending that the first two seasons never even happened. And maybe they didn't, because I have some theories.
Maybe they didn't.
But this is a full spoiler review. I won't come up with fake spoilers for Star Trek Picard, because they could turn out to be true. Who knows?
It's true, yeah. It's like the episode where the Picard that we see here turns out to be Shinzon. It might be.
Oh my gosh. This episode was written by Terry Matalas and directed by Doug Arniakowski, or Arniakowski.
That's a name.
It was dedicated to Annie Wershing.
Yep. Who
played the Borg Queen in Season 2, and who passed away just a few weeks ago, so it was very sweet. I looked at Terry Matalas. He's I guess this is his first Star Trek. He was the creator and showrunner of the 12 Monkeys TV series.
Yes, I saw that. Apparently, I was reading a little bit about the creative team behind this season, and he is not just like the writer, but he's like one of the main minds behind how this entire season is going. Oh, really? And he brought in a couple other people from the 12 Monkeys show to help him write this season. And like the more I read, the more I was like, did we just migrate like the 12 Monkeys staff for Picard Season 3? Because that's a choice.
I know we have an actor in this episode who was also in the 12 Monkeys TV show. So we might just... Hearing that kind of fills me with a glimmer of hope. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I don't know much about Doug Arniakowski. I didn't get a chance to look much into him, so... Okay,
well now that makes me want to find out. So hold on. So he's done 4 DS9 episodes, 4 Picard episodes, and 1 Star Trek short.
Oh, he's a DS9 veteran.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. Misread that. Not DS9, 4 Discovery episodes.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow.
So he's been a producer on Bull and Star Trek Picard and Machete Kills. What's he the director on? Let's see. Some episodes of the TV show SWAT, the TV show Criminal Minds, the TV show Blue Bloods, 4 episodes of Discovery, like we said, some Bull, some Sleepy Hollow, the TV series. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
Oh man,
I never watched it. But...
He's the director of Highlander Endgame.
Oh wow.
Which, according to this, was his first directorial gig, which that's interesting. All right.
Okie dokie then. And I don't know much about the 12 Monkeys TV show. I like the 12 Monkeys movie.
Yeah, see, I'm good. I like the movie. I've always intended to check out the TV show.
I honestly don't know if it has a good or bad reputation or what. So
I'm still looking at that guy. He's been first assistant director on lots of interesting things. Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, From Dusk Till Dawn. So before he got his, he did a lot of work before ever getting like an actual like individual directing gig.
Yeah.
But some big stuff.
Sounds like he's been around, so good for him.
His first assistant director gig was Pee-wee's Playhouse. 2 episodes.
Nice. Good job.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Pee-wee's Playhouse isn't bad. I haven't watched it in forever, but okay. Diving into this episode in the 25th century.
In the 25th century. Apparently, this episode takes place in the year 2401. So it's right there at the beginning.
Barely into the 25th century.
Yep.
A lonely Federation ship drifts through space while the ink spots "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire" plays. Which I see what you're doing there, Star Trek Picard. That's not going over my head. I see the seams. Suddenly, a scary-looking second ship swoops into frame. On board the Federation ship, we continue listening to the ink spots while the camera wanders around a dimly lit room, giving us glimpses of various Easter eggs, which I'm sure many YouTube videos explaining have already popped up.
Well, I mean, it's not hard to like know where the Jack Crusher box of stuff.
Sure.
It was an episode of The Next Generation. There's some more exotic ones, but
I mean, there's a plaque giving her honorary citizenship to somewhere and some other stuff.
Carcaroli 5 from the episode of The Next Generation Allegiance. So that's where she like cures a plague.
Nice.
So I guess they're like, hey, you can,
A little computer is playing some of Captain Picard's greatest Captain's Log hits. And I believe we're listening to from the Best of Both Worlds.
Yep. I had to rewind and listen to it again to be like, wait, what's he? That's a Picard log. What's going on here?
Yep.
And yeah, it was definitely Best of Both Worlds.
Yep. The text on the screen says something about Ambassador Spock, so he wasn't in that episode, was he?
No, he's not.
So I assume it's just like a greatest hits type compilation of his logs.
Yeah, there's a thing in here, and the thing is, I only heard the Best of Both Worlds log, and then I went and looked at the wiki, and it was like, so yeah, the logs that get put here include like, Best of Both Worlds, Unification Part 1, and Encounter at Farpoint.
Ah, okay.
So the Unification one must be the Spock thing.
That would explain Spock.
I don't remember hearing either of those other two.
This is a Easter egg filled episode.
It really is.
And you just have to get used to it.
Yep.
Suddenly an alarm goes off. Unauthorized docking. A woman bolts awake. It's Dr. Crusher.
I guess. Like, I didn't recognize her right away, necessarily.
Which you would have figured out if you saw, like, the Jack Crusher footlocker and stuff like that. They found us, she says. How did they find us? Says a mysterious voice. But Dr. Crusher quickly shuts the door and locks the mystery person out.
For some reason, yep.
Crusher grabs a phaser rifle just in time to greet the intruders. Two armed figures wearing eyes wide shut masks.
A phaser rifle, which apparently requires lots of cocking.
Yeah, it's like a phaser Remington shotgun.
Which, like, I think before the final shot, she, like, cocks it 2 or 3 times. And I was like, what? Is it more powerful the more times you cock it? I don't...
Crusher opens fire. A gunfight ensues, but Crusher's phaser runs out of juice in, like, 2 seconds.
Really fast, yeah. I was like, we have never seen that in, like, these phaser rifles.
I've never seen such an ineffective phaser of any kind, let alone a rifle. But she grabs a second rifle and kills the intruders. She does a little maneuver where she shoots the vents and some stuff sprays out, and then they run around, and then she shoots them, and they vaporize. But not before taking a hit herself.
She, like, executes the one guy on the ground.
Oh yeah, she murks that guy. He is gone.
Yep.
Severely wounded, Crusher ignores the mystery passenger still pounding on the locked door, and staggers to the computer console, where she is quickly informed more intruders are coming.
And whatever this ship, so the thing calls it the SS Elios 12.
Yeah, they said it a million times. I still can't remember what it's called.
But this ship has, like, the crappiest engines ever, because it, like, takes minutes to charge up to warp speed, apparently.
I mean, it's a little tiny ship, so...
We have never seen a ship in Star Trek that's like, oh, you want to go to warp? Give me, like, 5 minutes.
Yeah. But, I mean, it could be, like, a consumer-grade ship, or... I don't know. I'm not... Thinking quick, she instructs the computer to send a subspace message with Myriad codec. The recipient, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. Bum, bum, bum. So the main character of the show is going to be involved in this plot somehow.
Who knew?
As more bad ships warp in, Crusher's ship warps away, somehow leaving the docked ship floating in space.
Yep.
So I guess the warp bubble exactly conforms to the shape of the ship.
Or she, like, hits a button to, like, undock it real quick or something.
Oh, yeah, true.
Although if you could do that, you should just do that before they got off. But...
It's like, unauthorized docking. Well, undock them. Affirmative. At Chateau Picard, Picard and Laris stare at a painting of the Enterprise D. Picard decides to give the painting away to Geordi, who now apparently runs the Fleet Museum.
Yep.
As he and Laris are apparently moving to Chaltok 4. But Laris does not want Picard to let the painting go. She tells Picard it's okay to remember the past. But Picard doesn't crave her legacy, just new adventure. Later, Picard is sitting up in his study, listening to some music. This song is called I Can't Stop Crying. I spent way too long Googling it. It seems to be written by a ukulele player named Will Grove White in the year 2015, specifically as an old-timey song to be licensed in movies and TV shows.
Wow, okay, well, I guess it worked out for him.
So, but that song somehow made its way into Picard's music library. He has an old-timey phonograph record of it. Anyway, a very familiar chirping noise begins playing. Picard tracks down the noise to an old next-gen era comm badge.
I love that at first he's like, computer, did you also hear that, or am I just crazy? And the computer's like, no, yeah, I heard it. I don't know what it is, but I heard it. And also this idea that after like the Enterprise D was destroyed, he like got a new uniform, got a new comm badge, and just like put the old one away instead of, into the replicator to be.
Well, it must have been before that,
reclaimed.
because I happened to be skimming through Star Trek Generations recently, and he is wearing the new Deep Space Nine style uniform, and the like Voyager later seasons Deep Space Nine style comm badge in that movie.
Okay, so yeah, it was earlier that he put these things away in a box.
Yeah, I guess maybe it was when like they transitioned, like they said switch over to the new uniforms, and he put his old uniform and comm badge in the box. Or something like that.
Such a weird thing for him to keep. For an active duty officer to I want to keep this slightly out of date uniform.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he's more nostalgic than he lets on. Which, by the way, this would make it way more than 20 years ago. This style of uniform and comm badge. But
yeah, I was noting that when they repeatedly said 20 years. I'm like,
yeah,
a lot of stuff seems to have happened at the same time 20 years ago, and that's not.
So everything happened 20 years ago in Picard's life. So yes, the comm badge seems to be receiving a message in an unusual codec. Amazingly, Picard thinks to try the Myriad codec right away. He's just like...
I like the computer tries to... He's like, codec? The computer tries to explain to him what a codec... He's like, yes, I know. Okay.
He's like, I know, but explain it for the audience. But he's like, oh, how about the Myriad codec? Picard 47 Alpha Tango. The message from Beverly plays. Here's some coordinates, she says. Trust no one, especially Starfleet. Now here's a code word that you won't understand unless you talk to someone from Starfleet.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. I did consider the fact that he's like, but wait, he immediately goes and talks to Riker, who is Starfleet,
right,
which seems like a bad plan. But you're right, that without Riker, he would not have recognized that.
Yep. He immediately tells Laris about it, which just right away is a trust no one violation.
Your significant other, you kind of have to.
Is she his girlfriend now? I guess.
I mean, he's going off to another planet to be with her while she has a job doing security work. It's odd because apparently she's been like his personal valet or something, or like she runs his household, and then they get together, and now she's taking like professional security jobs on other planets as like, I guess because she's a former Tal Shiar person.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's just, it seems like a really big jump for, she spent, probably a decade or so doing like running Picard's household. And now it's like, oh yeah, also I have these like security jobs that I'm going to long-term on other planets, that Picard's just going to follow her around and like sip Saurian brandy and think about writing his memoirs.
I mean, that sounds like a good life to me, to be honest. But
well, I'm not saying that it would be bad. I'm just saying it's like, it seems like a weird move from where we last saw them.
So Laris is like, you better go check it out. Sounds like a legit problem. She tells him about a bar on Chaltok 4 with a great view of the sunset, and she'll save him a seat. Which, gee, I wonder what the last shot of the series is going to be.
She's going to be there alone.
It's either going to be her there alone because Picard died,
or
it's going to be Picard showing up.
Q shows up. Like, wait a second, what?
So Picard meets with Riker at 10 Forward. That's number 10 Forward Street in Los Angeles.
Which, I guess they couldn't afford Whoopi Goldberg again, so...
Yeah, or maybe she's busy or something, you know. See, they're selling Enterprise D souvenirs, which are not selling well.
They're selling lots of different ship souvenirs.
Yeah.
And the Enterprise D is specifically not selling well because no one wants the fat ones.
I would be. I mean, maybe they just don't know about all the amazing adventures we know about.
Just from an aesthetic standpoint, the Galaxy class has always been one of my favorites, and so I'm deeply offended by no one wants the fat ones.
I mean, yeah, the Enterprise D had this just amazing like it looked like it was designed by an artist. It was really had this really, as opposed to a lot of the later next gen era ships, which all had this kind of samey, bland look to them.
Yeah, they have a more utilitarian. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It looks like a piece of art.
Yeah,
and I like it.
So Picard and Riker share a bottle of whiskey, which I forgot the name of the whiskey, but it didn't look like a real brand of whiskey from what I could tell.
I wasn't paying attention, so.
If it's a real brand, I have inadvertently advertised it in this YouTube video's thumbnail.
And they should give us money.
Yes, exactly.
For not remembering the name of their whiskey.
It is a delicious whiskey. I love it. You should all drink it. Can we have our money now? Luckily, Riker is able to figure out the Hellbird reference and decode the coordinates. The Righton system. Righten the edge of Federation space. Riker wonders why Beverly cut them off 20 years ago. The time when everything happened, apparently.
Yep. So apparently she just vanished and never spoke to any of the crew again, which is really bizarre.
Well, apparently Picard references they had some kind of falling out, but we don't know much more than that.
Yeah, it was unclear.
Riker agrees to help Picard. Nearby, a mystery man sits alone at the bar, eavesdropping, and drops an Enterprise D model into his drink.
Yeah, into his drink for some reason, and then we, as far as I can tell, see nothing more about this character or whatever was going on with him.
I mean, I assume we'll see him later. If not, that's kind of
probably
a weird thing. Meanwhile, on Metalis Prime, which, nice one, Terry Metalis. District 6, which, okay, I guess we gotta talk about this. Is District 6 a district of the planet Metalis Prime? Or is the Federation now carved into districts? Because later we see District 7.
So, according to the wiki, the populated areas of the planet Metalis Prime are divided into districts, including District 6 and District 7.
Oh, so District 7 is on Metalis Prime.
I guess so, according to this anyway.
And Metalis Prime is a planet of the Federation.
I guess.
I mean, they have a Starfleet base there and a Rachel Garrett statue, so...
Was the Rachel Garrett statue on Metalis Prime?
Well, it was in District 7, so...
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
If District 7 is on Metalis Prime, then I guess it follows that Metalis Prime...
I didn't remember that was where District 7 shows up in the episode.
Yeah.
So, okay. No, that makes sense then.
I think I have that right. But...
I have to say, this part of the episode highlights one of the things about Picard, the show, not the person, that really gets to me most, is that it's like, there's this need for the show to have, the gross, grimy,
sure.
It used to be you could tell the difference between a Star Wars planet and a Star Trek planet for the most part, because they look very distinct, and that Star Wars was that more unpleasant vibe, and then Star Trek, even when you go to these alien planets, they looked neat and clean and stuff, and Picard is nah, we need to dirty everything up some. And this planet needs to have neighborhoods that you'd be scared to walk around in because there's drug dealers everywhere.
Right.
And it's just, or there's also a little bit of Blade Runner.
Oh, I mean, it's totally Blade Runner.
So I'm just why do we have to just forego the Star Trek aesthetic completely for these other things. It kind of bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, we very, very rarely see kind of like the underworld of the Federation in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Anyway, Metalis Prime is a planet of endless neon and club music where degenerates spray drugs into each other's eyeballs. A mysterious hooded figure pushes her way past the drunks and space pimps and arms dealers and takes a seat at a bar next to an Orion man. After buying some drugs from him, she turns around and we see who it is. Rafi. What's with all these pointless character reveals? Like, can't we just see her walking down the street? And then, like...
No, you have to be like, oh my gosh, Rafi's going to be in the show again? Yeah. Who would have thought?
In a scene reminiscent of the time Homer Simpson went undercover for the IRS, Rafi asked the Orion man, "Hey, have you heard of any cool illegal things going on that I can wrap my way back into Starfleet with? Like, I don't know, top secret quantum tunneling weapons technology being stolen from the Daystrom Institute? Or just, whatever. I'm not a spy." After she pays him a bunch of money, the Orion gives up a name. The Red Lady. Rafi walks 10 feet away, puts her phone on speaker, and loudly says, "Hey, Starfleet Intelligence Officer Rafi here. And boy, do I have something juicy to report." Then she looks longingly at the drugs, but then throws them away.
Yep. She wants them drugs.
Yep. And her stealthy, her slyness, her tradecraft is not top notch, in my opinion. But
I guess you didn't see season 1, so you didn't encounter her doing drugs. But
oh, okay. Oh, I mean, I got from context she was interested in those drugs.
Yeah. It's like back when we first meet her, she's like living out in the desert in like a trailer home looking thing, and on her trailer home porch she grows these flowers, and then when Picard shows up, she pulls out like a vape pen and picks one of the flowers and shoves it into the vape pen and then starts smoking it.
Nice, okay.
And I later we find out that it is like some sort of drugs, and not just like tobacco flower or something.
But I just like to imagine like someone in the CIA making contact with their shady asset or whatever, and they step just like right around the corner and they're like, get on the phone, they're like, "Hey, CIA agent Bob here, reporting in." So Picard and Riker show up at Space Dock to carry out Riker's brilliant plan.
Yep, great plan.
A fake inspection ahead of the Frontier Day space parade. The mark, Riker's old command, the Titan.
Except not.
Now refitted as a, quote, Neo-Constitution class.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, and I went on like Reddit and stuff to see if I could find answers to some questions about this. And there seems to be a lot of confusion on this point. Whether it is a refit or it is an entirely new ship. And I think someone on Reddit posted that like, oh yeah, the writers of the show said that it was basically like, this is a new ship, but some stuff, like some systems from the old ship were like stuck into this new ship or something like that. Because it's just like, if you've seen the old Titan, there's no way this is a refit of that ship. It is a completely different like frame. And so there's just no way. And also, I don't know that we've ever seen a refit where they named it like with an A at the end or, B or whatever. Like that's something you do for a new ship, not for like a refit of an existing ship.
So did it have the A at the end then? I didn't catch that.
This is the Titan A.
Oh, okay.
And it is, the wiki calls it a Constitution 3 class, also known as Neo-Constitution, which both of those bother me.
Yeah, like F off with that. Like,
there's no reason in universe that people would be like that nostalgic about the Constitution class. This is just them being like, hey, look how much we care about original series stuff. We brought back the Constitution class.
It looks kind of like the Enterprise with a bunch of neon crap glued on top of it.
And also, like, I hate the design of the ship. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's like, yes, they wanted to, like, look, it's the Constitution class again, but we made it so boxy that it's like you could have made this out of cardboard. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, if you're seriously, go away. This ship design, it's gross.
I'm hoping this is not going to be our primary ship of this season.
Oh.
Is the Titan, because I don't like it.
Based on the fact that it is in the opening thing, like the Star Trek logo.
Yeah,
I have some concerns. So, first officer of the Titan A, Commander Annika Hansen.
Yeah, apparently her captain does not like her using.
Yeah, which did she want to use the name 7 of 9?
She did, in Voyager, she made a decision that Annika Hansen did not describe who she was, and she was going to be known as 7 of 9.
Okay, so it's kind of like a unfederation move to force her to use her dead name or whatever. So Picard and Riker inspect the crew, which also includes Geordi LaForge's daughter, Sydney Crash LaForge.
Which it's a great moment where Picard just is there something wrong with that ensign?
It's like she's smiling. What's going on?
And then Riker is just so, I don't know if he's oblivious or he just doesn't care, but when it's very clear that she does not want to bring up her academy days of crashing stuff and being known as Crash, he just bulls right through it and is like, oh yeah, you crashed 2 shuttles, they called you Crash LaForge. And she's like, oh. Which,
that's a pretty cool nickname, but yeah. And also I like the part when he goes up to that Trill officer and just kind of fiddles with his comm badge.
Yep,
he's
straigns the comm badge.
All right, this'll do.
That's what you do on an inspection tour, you know?
Yeah, you fiddle with people's comm badges. So Picard, Riker, and 7 meet the captain, Captain Shaw, who has already gotten a head start on a dinner of Soylent Green or something.
You just couldn't make this guy more of an asshole, where it's he invited them to dinner, but then he starts without them, and Picard's like, oh, were we late? And he's like, oh no, what does he say? He's like, your reputation's preceded you so far that I had to get started.
Which, is it bad that that Captain Shaw is immediately my favorite character?
Yes, it is very bad. He is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad guy.
Anyway, they try to sell him on a detour to the Righton system, but Captain Shaw is just like, no, that sounds like a bunch of bullshit, and I think I will continue doing my job that my actual boss told me to do.
And yeah, Picard tries to pull out his well, I am an admiral, and he's like, retired. Congratulations on that.
He's just having none of it, and it delights me.
He really, I wouldn't be as annoyed by it if it was if it was just because this is bullshit, and he's like, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do, but he approaches it as being I am 5,000% by the book, and a hard ass about everything being exactly by the book, and that I don't like that.
I like all the verbal jabs he gets in on Picard and Riker.
It's just so insulting. He's like, yeah, I mean, you guys are going to be bored. There won't be any gunfire or explosions or anything. And I'm like, dude, could you be more of a dick?
I don't know. I want a whole show with Captain Shaw.
I want him to die horribly.
It helps that the captain of my personal Star Trek fanfic series, Star Trek Frontier, is also named Captain Shaw, but is a very different character.
Exactly the same. They stole Captain Shaw, is what Fletcher is saying, from his story, and
that's a female captain named Captain Alison Shaw, though.
Oh, okay.
So, and she's Australian.
Huh.
Anyway, so leaving dinner, Riker and Picard try to think of their next move, while 7 eavesdrops in the background.
It's like, okay, so what's plan B? And Picard's like, dude, short of a mutiny, I got nothing.
It sure would be nice if there was a mutiny.
It's just they really put all their eggs in this basket of, we'll be able to convince this guy to do this thing, and then that's not it's so clear that there's no way that's going to work, that they're like, well, now we're stuck on this ship. What are we going to do?
We're going to where the ship is going. What was their excuse for not hiring a ship? It was it was too dangerous, or
I think it was something too far for charter. That's what they call it. They said it's too far for a charter.
On her ship, parked on a rooftop on Metalis Prime, Raffi texts her mysterious Starfleet intelligence handler. The handler refuses a face-to-face meet and tells her to get to work finding the Red Lady. So who is this mysterious handler?
Yeah. there's no way that this turns out to be anything good. I feel like it's like the computer voice is the only voice that you know giving you orders to do something, and I'm just like, this can't be good. And also, apparently she can't contact them outside of like designated times when they're supposed to interact, which the handler apparently just doesn't show up for some of the time, which seems like a really bad way to run an asset.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah.
In any sort of spy situation in popular culture, bad tradecraft always bothers me.
Yeah, like obviously bad tradecraft. Like,
yeah,
like if I was doing this job for 5 minutes, I would have thought of something better than this.
Right, exactly.
Riker and Picard share a bunk bed, both sleeping in their clothes on top of the covers.
Honestly, it didn't even occur to me when his parting shot is like, I hope your quarters are satisfactory. It's the best we could do on short notice. It never in a million years would I have pictured like this bunk bed setup for an admiral and like a senior Starfleet captain.
Well, they have a nice little scene where they're talking about what happened with Beverly or something. Not much is revealed though.
Not much.
Suddenly Seven calls them into the observation room, where she demands to know what's going on. Picard tells her. Seven laments joining Starfleet, which she apparently wasn't expecting to be an actual job where you have to do what your bosses tell you to do.
Well, yes and no. I mean, she's upset that she can't follow her own instincts or whatever, which, yeah. I mean, the military is the worst place to go if you want to like be able to be like a maverick who does whatever they want. But at the same time, this guy is like, you can't use the name that you choose. I will not listen to any advice that you give me.
Right.
I'm going to be a jackass all the time. I can understand why it would be particularly grating.
Yeah, making her use the name she doesn't like is particularly dickish. But it's like, you got to work your way up the ranks, and then you can be like the inspiring Captain Picard or whatever.
Yeah. Once you become captain, which, I mean, she's already a commander, apparently,
yeah.
So...
I think she got some, like, transfer credit from working on Voyager.
Yeah, she must have. I mean, it makes you wonder how people like Kirk actually made it to captain.
Yeah. You keep your head down until your opportunity comes.
Yeah, it's like, the entire senior staff dies, and you take over in a moment of need, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, you make a pretty good captain. We'll just make you captain.
So the Titan drops out of warp, and Seven reveals that she has diverted the ship to Righton and arranged to let them steal a shuttle.
And apparently no one else on the ship,
yeah,
I guess maybe no one else knew that the captain did not want to go here, and they just, trust their first officer. Yeah. But I'm just shocked the captain doesn't find out sooner.
Yeah, the captain just went immediately to bed, and 7 of 9 was like, okay, so we're on our way to the Righton system, everybody, let's go.
Although, when the captain shows up and calls her on it, everyone seems to know. Like, you get these glances as he comes in. That everyone's like, oh, she's in trouble. Like, I feel like the bridge crew knows that they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing.
But yes, Captain Shaw is not pleased to wake up and see himself right next to a nebula or whatever.
Yep.
Back on Metalis Prime, Rafi aggressively Googles the Red Lady.
To the point that the computer's like, you've already done this search 20 times. And she's like, yes, I know, shut up.
She ignores a couple of promising sounding leads, which, like, first of all, that Tal Shiar lady who got killed by her own father, what's the story there?
Right? Yeah, that sounds interesting. But it's like, the first thing she says, is there a ship or something called this? And then the first result is, yes, there is a ship called this. Yeah. It's docked at this planet. Maybe the planet's really far away or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I would be checking that out, though. Yeah, maybe totally. She already called them and verified or whatever. I want to know the story of this Tal Shiar lady, like write a novel about it or something. But so, yeah, she eventually focuses on the extremely tenuous lead of an upcoming dedication ceremony for a red Rachel Garrett statue.
Yep.
Also in the scene, the Enterprise, there's a headline that the Enterprise F is slated for early decommission.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, honestly, I didn't notice the news crawl or whatever, which had a couple of things. If what people are saying is to be believed that I need to go back and check out. But yeah, that is one of them, and that got some attention on some of the Reddit threads as well, where people are like, dude, the Enterprise F hasn't even been out that long. Like, what'd they do to it?
I mean, could this be foreshadowing a new Enterprise G centered Star Trek show?
With starring Geordi's daughter or something.
Oh, yeah, with Captain Shaw and Geordi's daughter.
They're going to rename the Titan to the Enterprise so that it's a Constitution class Enterprise.
Oh, please no.
No, let's not do that.
Yeah, I just happened to notice it because I hit pause at that exact moment for some reason. And then I looked over there. I was like, wait, what? Enterprise F? Which we've never seen the Enterprise F before, have we?
We saw, was it the Enterprise? There's an Enterprise that shows up in an episode of Voyager in the future, but that may be like the Enterprise J.
Oh, yeah.
With like LaForge in command of it or something. The Enterprise F. Let me see if there's any information out about the Enterprise F. This is her first on-screen appearance.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, but Rafi turns out to be correct and arrives in District 7, I guess, just in time to see the statue in the building it's in front of portaled into the ground and then dropped onto a nearby city or something.
Yeah, it was messed up. So yeah, somebody has a giant portal gun.
Yeah, so I guess that's this quantum tunneling weapon that we're hearing about.
Apparently somewhere in this episode there's also a mention of the Voyager B.
Oh, interesting.
The successor to the Voyager A. But I don't know where that came in either.
I mean, it is just like a fire hose of Easter eggs. Like, I'm not going to go through all of them. I trust somebody on YouTube is going to point them all out. So Picard and Riker arrive at Beverly's ship and inspect the aftermath of the gunfight. They find Beverly in a med pod. Then they encounter a mysterious man who holds them at phaser point. But they talk him down, and he claims to be Beverly's son.
I do like that it seems like Picard has successfully talked him down, and Riker just beats him for no reason and takes his gun.
Yeah. I looked up this actor. He was born in 1988, which roughly aligns with the Dr. Pulaski season of Next Generation.
Oh.
So, could that be a clue? I don't know. Is that the reason she left the Enterprise for a year?
Well, I mean, in universe, she left the Enterprise to take a position at Starfleet Medical, which was important. So, I mean, I feel like people would notice if she wasn't actually doing that.
Was she pregnant there? I don't know.
Could be.
And who's the father? I think we're left to maybe think it's Picard, but
I mean, yeah, I feel like there's a definite potential implication there that it's like they tried to get together and it didn't work out, and then she disappeared not long after that. Maybe she was pregnant and that's why she vanished.
Oh, okay. So maybe this guy is just 20 years old and he looks like a 35-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know.
Could be. Suddenly a proximity alert goes off. Mystery Man hurriedly explains that they've been being hunted by people who have different faces each time they see them, which those are called masks, dude. In the final shot of the episode, a big, scary-looking ship comes out of the space fog and stands toe-to-toe with them. Which, this would be a lot more impressive if we didn't see the scale of the ship already, where it's, just barely larger than the shuttlecraft that docked with it. So it's this ship that's, bigger than it. I can just imagine, the Enterprise D next to both of these ships, and they both look, teeny tiny.
I hadn't actually thought about that, but yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, the end.
The end. So, did you pay attention to the credits?
Okay, I paid attention to the credits to see who the writer and director were. I did notice the Star Trek First Contact theme playing in the credits, which I didn't remember if those have always been the ending credits music.
No, I don't think so. I think that's actually a unique thing here, which because I saw people commenting on that, I agree that was cool to hear that.
The one thing I did notice in the credits was there's something about a holodeck program of 10 forward with safety off or something.
So yes, there is a wealth of little things in the credits.
Oh.
And I found somebody who made a whole list of it. So I was going to go down some of these.
All right, let's do it.
So there's a moment where you see what looks like a display of that ship that we see at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the display of the ship, and all around it there's an alien language and buttons and stuff.
Sure.
Which I was like, trying to figure out if I could figure out the alien language. It looked like it might be Romulan, and honestly, the ship kind of reminds me of the ship from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek the movie where the Romulans like went back in time and stuff.
Nero's ship or whatever.
Yeah, Nero's ship. So I think there's a possibility the ship might be Romulan. If it was, I couldn't get a 1-to-1. Like, I brought up the Romulan alphabet and was trying to match it to the symbols, and I couldn't see. But so not sure on that one. But if somebody could spot what language that is, it might tell us who that ship was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it wasn't Ferengi or like Vulcan or several other languages, but what it was, I'm not 100%. Then there is a device that gets shown, and the text, there's like little text prompts pointing at different pieces of the device, and the words start out in Klingon and then become English. And that's all I could pick up at first. Like, I recognized the Klingon letters. I didn't know any more information. And then someone on Reddit was like, "Oh yeah, that's a diagram of a cloaking device from a Burrell class Klingon starship, Bird of Prey." So maybe that will be relevant in some way.
Yeah.
There's a DNA helix that pops up. I mean, you know, what are you gonna? There's the thing that you saw, which says 10 forward bar LA safety off. So it's a holographic simulation of that bar. I don't know if there's supposed to be an implication that what we saw was a holographic simulation of the bar or what, but you know, there's a musical score that pops up, which I had no idea what it was because I've never been that good at reading music. Someone says that it was "Pop Goes the Weasel."
Ooh.
Which calls back to maybe some lore related stuff because lore whistled that in an episode. There is what appears to be a map of a positronic brain.
Okay. So again, could be more lore.
There was a readout about a Constitution class ship called the USS Constance. It's heavily redacted on screen, but what we do see is that it was lost on a particular stardate, which happens to be the date of the battle at Wolf 359.
Ooh.
So something about that ship being destroyed may be relevant there.
Sure.
I don't know why it would be redacted. Like, there's something weird going on. There's a schematic of the Fleet Museum, where we know Geordi is in charge, with several ships. You see the registry numbers of the ships going around it. Then there is it goes down the Fleet Museum and shows several ships. I guess that are like, I don't know if the Fleet Museum is like has a bunch of docking ports and there's like entire ships that you can go and explore as part of the museum.
Now, I vaguely remember there was an episode of Voyager where someone from the future or something mentioned that the Voyager was in the Fleet Museum.
Yeah, and that is one of the ones that's shown on there as being there, along with the Enterprise A, the Excelsior, and apparently I didn't remember it, but in season 2 of Picard, it's apparently mentioned that the saucer section of the Enterprise D was recovered and is at the Fleet Museum. And so there's like a blob that you don't see the name of, and a bunch of people are theorizing that that's that part of the Enterprise D. Then when different actors' names are popping up during the credits, there's things that people think may be related to them in some way. Like Patrick Stewart, when his name comes up, there's a display of his like override code that we hear in the episode. There's when Jerry Ryan's name pops up, there is what looks like a report about her, and it says that like the Captain Shaw is making this report, but it says like Commander, like the subject of the report is Commander, and then her name is redacted, and so people are like, oh, maybe by the end of the season she'll be Commander 7 of 9.
Interesting.
There's a quote that pops up that says, "Do not seek blame, do not seek AN," and then it cuts off. And so
I did see that. I was like, what's that?
The assumption is that maybe do not seek anger, but we don't know.
Sure. I mean, good advice, but
well, yeah, right. I don't know what it means. There's a thing that pops up that says, "Weapon found on site. Disengage investigation until ... There's a thing where DNA strands pop up and it says Picard DNA base pairs.
Sure. Picard's a robot, isn't he? So
yeah,
whatever.
When Jonathan Frakes comes up, there's a red alert thing. And then when Gates McFadden pops up, there is a micro neurographic scan. And then somebody mentions, note, the neurographic scan is what what Crusher uses to detect Picard's Irumodic syndrome in All Good Things.
Ah.
And so I think... I think there's a possibility here that if that kid is Picard's kid, that like maybe he also has erotic syndrome.
Okay, yeah.
And that's, going to be relevant somehow. But so, yeah, there's just all sorts of stuff in those credits that I was like, oh my gosh. I was halfway through the credits before I noticed that, like, oh, there's interesting things popping up. So I had to rewind and rewatch.
Yes, there is a... But how does it all fit together? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
So, no Moriarty this episode.
Or definitely not, unless he's hiding somewhere.
Yeah, he's pulling the strings. He's behind the Eyes Wide Shut people or something.
Or he stole that quantum tunneling whatever.
Exactly, which is it's a very Moriarty thing to do.
Well, it's stolen from like the Daystrom Institute, which I'm like, if they have been researching or studying Moriarty's cube, maybe that would have been there.
Maybe he got out.
Yeah.
Or maybe my theory that this whole thing is inside the Green Cube universe, and we've been following Green Cube, Picard, and crew the whole time. Who knows?
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, like after watching Ship in a Bottle, I started kind of like writing this fan fiction in my head of like the adventures of Moriarty inside the Green Cube, and him starting to suspect that he's like inside a simulation. And I was like, well, at some point he would go back and talk to the Enterprise, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, but that Enterprise would have no clue that they were the fake Enterprise.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, he could do whatever he wanted and no one would ever be able to tell him that, anything was weird because they don't know. I mean, I wonder if within the universe of the Green Cube, if you could teleport more people off of the holodeck and make them real, because he could create, like, if he got a hold of a holodeck and teleport, he could create, like, a whole army of holographic people ready to help him take over the universe or something.
That's true. Yeah, he could, like, I guess he could make whoever he wanted. He could make, like, Genghis Khan or...
Yeah. Evil Abraham Lincoln, just whatever you want.
Yeah. Aberdolf Linkler. You never know. So that's a good... And then maybe could he bring them out into the real world somehow? Who knows?
I mean, assuming that, he could get out of the cube, we know that there are ways. We've got the...
Right.
There are ships where you can go all over the ship because there's holographic projectors everywhere so that, the emergency medical hologram can go wherever it needs to go.
Right.
And then the doctor had the holo emitter or whatever. So it's totally, if he could get out of the cube, it's totally possible that he could get almost any place.
Yep. So I'm real curious what he's been up to if we ever see him. So Next Gen crew. This is supposedly the season where the whole Next Gen crew comes back. We've only seen Beverly and Riker.
Yep.
And that's it. We hear that something has gone down with Deanna and Riker. It seems like, or they're having a tough spot or something.
I don't know. I mean...
Or maybe he's just getting on their nerves.
Yeah, he was like, I think they'll be happy to get me out of their hair for a little bit. It didn't sound like anything bad to me. It sounded honestly more to me like he was just trying to comfort Picard that, I can go along with you. It's fine.
He said it with some kind of weight, which... And then Picard had this kind of like awkward look on his face, like, oh, I'm sorry I asked or something. But, could be nothing. Because we know she's in the season, so we'll see her eventually. No Geordi, no Worf.
Definitely get some mention of Geordi, though. So
Right. So will we pay a visit to the Fleet Museum, see what that's like? Who knows?
I feel like we're going to have to. There was some theorizing online that like they're going to need a ship and maybe they'll go to the Fleet Museum and get one. Since Geordi has some pull there, being in charge of it. And then...
So like steal the old Enterprise D?
Yeah. A lot of... One theory that I saw was like, maybe Geordi just likes to tinker and he got like the star drive section from another Galaxy class ship and he reattached the saucer section from the Enterprise D, and there's a whole new Enterprise D just waiting to go.
I mean, we know Geordi loves the Enterprise. He loves the Galaxy class because he's in love with that Leah Brahms lady or whatever.
It's true.
Whatever happened to her? Was she ever mentioned in Picard?
I don't think so. Oh, here, let's search and see if there's
And
anything
who's
about her.
who's the mother of Geordi's daughter?
This is a good question that we don't know the answer to. I mean, in all good things, in the weird future, he married her, I guess, after she got divorced or her husband died or something, since she was married when he met her. But
yeah.
Let's see. Later in life, according to an episode of Voyager, she was the director of the Zephram Cochrane Institute for Advanced Theoretical Physics. She signed her name to the Cochrane Medal of Excellence that Harry Kim receives.
Oh.
Dr. Brahms and her work are still well known in 2381 as Ensign Samantha Rutherford. Oh, this is on Lower Decks. Was approached. Yeah, okay, yeah. There's the thing where there's an allusion of her, which is a callback to that episode of The Next Generation. But we don't know anything else about her, I guess.
Okay. So she's potentially in play.
Yeah, could be.
Or at the very least, Geordi might rebuild the Enterprise D, and then they take it and go on one last adventure together, or whatever.
Yeah. Or there's all those ships there. Like they could take the Enterprise A. They could steal Voyager. There's just so many possibilities.
Let's take this one, the Voyager.
I wonder what the Enterprise E is up to.
Well, I mean, at some point we got an Enterprise F, so
yeah, I guess it must be out of commission, along with now the Enterprise F. Maybe they'll take the Enterprise F. It's being decommissioned or whatever.
Ooh, yep.
Although presumably there's a good reason why it's being decommissioned. Maybe you don't want to take that.
Maybe just the Enterprise G is just so much more awesome. They're willing to just shove the Enterprise F into the museum and forget about it. Brent Spiner is in this season, right?
Yep, I saw him today. I was watching some stuff on Pluto TV, which is, free to watch. Some stuff that I could only find streaming there, which, since it's free, requires lots of commercials. And almost every commercial I saw was a Paramount Plus commercial. And so there was a lot of Picard commercials, and I saw him pop up a couple times.
Nice. And so I assume he's not playing Data. I haven't watched any... I didn't watch the post-credits ad or anything like that, so... But yeah, I assume he's not Data. He's a Soong or something.
I wouldn't think. Yeah, maybe he's a Soong. Maybe Lore is going to come back. Yeah. There was a couple of hints. Sure. He could be Lore.
We do have apparently, from what you've said, there's some Lore hints. So that might be fun.
Yeah, maybe Lore was at the Daystrom Institute and Moriarty was at the Daystrom Institute, and they're going to team up together.
Could be. Maybe
the reason that they show up with different faces each time is because they're holograms.
Could be.
That doesn't explain why she can phaser them and they leave ash behind. Yeah. Gets pointed out, have you ever seen this kind of dust left behind?
Yeah, is that a clue or
maybe? Honestly, I assumed it was because of her weird phaser that needs cocking and runs out of battery super fast. But who knows?
True. Maybe she has a special phaser that kills holograms and turns them into ash, and that's why it only gets 4 shots before it runs out of energy.
Sure, super hologram phaser. Yeah.
Mm.
I have to say that. I feel like it's really late in the day to be making a Leah Brahms statue, or not Leah Brahms, sorry, Rachel Garrett statue. But at the same time, I'm I like Rachel Garrett. I think she deserves a statue. Sure, it's sad that her statue immediately gets destroyed.
I mean, I wonder if somewhere in Starfleet there's just a list of people who need statues, and her name finally came up.
Could be.
Or something. I don't know why her statue has to be red.
Or at, I guess that was a recruitment center, they said. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it's appropriate necessarily at all, but whatever.
It's one of those things where you give it to, an artist, and he's like, I've got this great idea. Let's make the statue all red. It's okay, if you say so. You're the artist.
Yeah, whatever.
I did I like seeing Riker. I like old man Riker for some reason.
I agree. Honestly, I like the entire dynamic between him and Picard. Now that you don't have the rank thing that's always created a little bit of a wall between them. Now they have this old buddies ribbing each other thing going on, and I really liked it a lot actually.
Right. Yeah, and I he's just being an old man. He's rocking the old grandpa gut, and I like the part when they're getting ready to board the ship and. Was it Picard's knees are bad and his fingers are bad? So it's
I think it's the other way around. Picard, his hands were messing up, and Riker's. He's as long as we don't need to move or pull a trigger, then we'll be great.
But they're all right, here we go. Why not? Yeah, That was a fun little scene between them.
And then they had the thing like when they're lying in the beds where he's like, I don't remember having to get up to pee this often, but whatever.
Yeah,
Like
that's fun.
Totally, yeah. He's got the cool old man vibe going on, and he's just very jolly about it. I feel like Jonathan Frakes is just being Jonathan Frakes at this point.
He's like, don't worry, I got this covered. In that scene when they're in bed still wearing their clothes for some reason. Maybe that's just the way Starfleet does it.
I mean, they were going to get called out immediately and be interrogated by Seven, so it would have been awkward if they had to stop and change, put their clothes back on.
True.
Maybe they didn't bring any other clothes with them either.
Yeah. They were expecting to just get a free ride to the Righton system and then get off.
Yep.
Anyway, in lieu of like ranking or rating this episode, because it feels kind of not right to do that, because this is just more of like a serialized thing and not like a episode thing. I guess let's just discuss like, I don't know.
Each episode doesn't necessarily need to stand alone. I get what you're saying. So
yeah.
Ranking them.
Kind of just like, where's the needle at for you, and what works and what doesn't, basically. A little summary.
Okay.
For the for the season, like, are you more up on it, more down on it?
Okay,
sort of like that type of thing.
It's hard to give a read in the first episode.
Yeah.
But and I think I've established a lot of the like pros and cons I have. I hate the ship. I hate the captain. I feel like the Beverly thing feels really tenuous, or like I'm having trouble suspending my disbelief to the point that I buy that she disappeared for 20 years and didn't contact any of her friends, and then this one day is finally like, I better call Picard. I somehow know I can trust him even if I can't trust anyone. Right. Maybe as we actually learn what's going on, that'll make more sense. Right now, it feels weird to me.
Yeah.
And that seems to like what's going to be the driving force of the show going forward. So I feel like if they don't stick the landing on that and having that work, then the whole thing is going to be kind of tough to swallow.
Yeah.
The thing where Rafi figures out where the attack is going to happen, but because she can't contact her handler unless it's at a pre-specified time where the handler may or may not show up, she has no options except to fly there and try yelling at people to pay attention to her. And nobody answers her. Which,
why would they?
I mean, she's flying in. It's like, hey, this is an emergency. You're in danger. I am a Starfleet officer. You are a Starfleet recruitment center. Talk to me. And she's getting completely ignored, which my first thought was like, did she report her suspicion and they've already evacuated? Maybe we'll find that out. Maybe no one died. It was my thought until the building then gets dropped on some other buildings nearby. And I was like, oh no, some people died.
Yeah, my read was that the bad people were like jamming comms or whatever.
So yeah, not knowing what direction any of this is going and which things are going to be important and which things are going to not be important, I'm not sold on the story of the season yet.
Yeah.
What I do like is the little like we talked about the Picard Riker relationship.
Sure.
That was fun. A lot of these the more personal things, like even the 7 of 9 stuff, I actually like that. I like seeing this new side of her and seeing like her chafe against this stuff. But still do what she thinks is right. And the guy is so by the book that even when his first officer has completely betrayed him and done what she's not supposed to do, he's like, okay, I'm going back to bed. I want you to write me a full report. Like that's the extent of his fury, is to be like, okay, I want a report, and it better have all the details in that report.
Well, I mean, he does say like, you just loyaltied your way out of a job or whatever. So he is kind of threatening her.
Yeah. So there's some possibilities there, but once again, I'm like, is that going to be important? Are we going to follow that story in any way, or is that now? Are we done with that bit? So yeah. I think and given that the character stuff is going to seems like it's going to largely involve bringing back the whole cast that we know and love. I'm confident that the character stuff will be decent. That based on just Riker and Picard, as we bring more of the old crew in, I don't think that we can go anywhere but up with that bit of it.
Sure.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not yet sold on the story of the season because we don't really know what it's going to be yet. Yeah. And so I'm cautiously optimistic about the character side. I am on the edge about the rest of it, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I feel kind of the same way about the overall story, because it seems like this really interesting, intriguing mystery. But then again, I've seen some Star Trek Picard before, and I don't really have faith in this creative team to actually follow through and make it like actually interesting.
Yeah, which I thought the same thing, and then I read about how, like, yeah, basically these guys from
the
12 Monkeys show were coming in and kind of taking charge of the direction of this season. And I was like, well, now not knowing anything about the quality of the 12 Monkeys show, I have no idea if I should be optimistic or pessimistic about what that means. But I guess we'll find out.
On the face of it, that sounds promising. But I would have to actually watch this 12 Monkeys show to make my final judgment. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my expectations very low, very tempered, and then see what these guys come up with. But yeah, I do look forward to seeing the rest of the crew. I mean, the cast is gonna sell it, even if the writers don't. So
yeah, exactly. It's like
LeVar Burton's gonna like put on a good show. Brent Spiner's always great. So
LeVar Burton can't be bad. Brent Spiner has been doing various songs for so long at this point that, and honestly, Michael Dorn has been Worf more than any character in Star Trek has ever been, or any actor has ever been their character in Star Trek. So I'm confident that he will kill it when he comes in as Worf. So nice. There's honestly, I think Gates McFadden as Crusher is the one that I have the most doubt about, because she's the one that we've seen the least of over the long term, and who knows, her character may end up having changed a lot because no one's talked to her in 20 years. So
yeah, it's hard to tell from what we saw. I mean, she seems like I don't know, she's gone kind of Sarah Connor or something. I don't know.
It seems like that might be the case. Yep. I
haven't seen Michael Dorn in anything I can remember, except for he was a voice on the Invincible cartoon.
He's been a voice in a lot of stuff. He's
on Amazon.
He's gotten a lot of voice acting work. I'm always hearing him in things, but I didn't know he was from Texas. Now I'm looking up information about him.
Where's he from?
Lulling, Texas is where he was born, which is a city in Caldwell and Guadalupe counties, along the San Marcos River, with, as of 2020, a population of 5,500 people.
So is it like near San Marcos?
It's like halfway between San Marcos and Gonzales, and just kind of also halfway between San Antonio and Austin. Okay, sure.
Nice. All right, I guess we better wrap it up. So, you have any final thoughts before we close it out?
No, I'm interested to see where we go next. That's the extent of my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not totally ready to throw the series out. We're going to watch the whole series regardless.
Right.
So.
Just hope that by the end we're not like, oh my God, this sucks. Why do I have to keep doing this?
At least we'll have fun making fun of it. Yeah, unless it's just that bad. But anyway, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed our discussion, you may be interested in our episode-by-episode retrospective podcast of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which we call Undeclared Bajor. Available on this channel or on whatever platform you may be listening on, if you're listening from the future. Check the description. I occasionally put links to interesting things in there. That's also where you can find a link to Data's other podcast, The Sanderlanche, which I think your pitch is pretty short and sweet for that.
Yep, Brandon Sanderson books. Check it out.
If you like Brandon Sanderson, you will like that podcast. Anyway, I was Fletcher, about to sign off as Data.
Au revoir.
Oh, and we didn't come up with a sign-off yet for the Picard series.
No, I had the Resistance thing. That was my
all
thing.
Right. What is Resistance?
Oh crap! No, I didn't have anything prepared for it. Okay, hold on. It's like, remember everyone, Resistance is a movie from 2020 starring Jesse Eisenberg.
I did not see that one or even hear about it.
No, me either. I Googled Resistance and that was one of the first. Wow. It's the story of the mime Marcel Marceau and his work with a group of Jewish Boy Scouts and the French Resistance to save orphans during World War II.
I'm sure it's a very inspiring story.
that summary just took so many turns.
Yeah. It keeps unwrapping like an onion.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, good night, everybody. See you next time.